Good morning. I'd like to begin the December Tree Protection Board of the Town of Somerville meeting. And the first item is approval of last month's minutes. Is there any discussion, questions about the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Excuse me. The first item of business today is old business, and that's for 116 East Walker Drive in Somerville.
Good morning.
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 I've gone over the report from Nathan, concerning that property. And, I pretty much stand by what he is flagging here, removal of these trees. So that's all I'm requesting.
Okay, there's a complication with this because your most recent application only involved some 11 trees. And there are additional trees on this list that we just received rather late, I will say, on Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock. That don't overlap the ones that were on the 11 tree most recent permit.
I'm sorry about that, sir. Ignore those. If they don't see, if you don't see any other trees on this list, I'm willing to move on. And I'm sorry about it being late.
Yeah, it was late. We really haven't had a time to assess it. And because there are additional trees that we never looked at, we've been to this property 3 times. There are additional trees that we did not look at that are in Nathaniel's list. As such, I believe we need to go back and look at all of them. And so is my opinion that we defer this until the next meeting so we can evaluate all the trees in question and there's no confusion. Right now, there's confusion and I don't want to make a mistake. I don't think anybody else does.
Okay. I appreciate that. I'll make sure that I'm there and that we're on the same page.
Okay,
Any consideration you can give me, I appreciate it.
we will.
Thank you, sir.
Can I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to defer the issue into the next meeting, to give us time to consider, the arborist report as we view the trees.
I second that.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We'll see you next month.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Next item of business is, I don't have an address yet, but it's on Maple Street. North Maple Street. That's all it says.
Good afternoon, Jessica Chapman. I'm the engineer for the Office Project. I would just like to kind of rewind on this project. So this project was originally submitted as a full tree protection permit. It showed the trees that we were planning on removing. It showed the trees we were planning on preserving. I was contacted and I was asked to remove all of the trees we were planning on removing. I was told to strip the plan to remove the site plan and the new permit process when we created concept plan permit. And so while I was sitting here waiting, I heard some phrases for the project from you all. And it was Maple Street Monster, no elementary snow flagging, no nothing is showing from the state. So my understanding is when you came to meet on site, your intent was to walk the site, identify trees, specific trees that you guys wanted saved so that we could see if we could incorporate those in the site plan. But my understanding was that no walk on the site was actually done. You met on site, you didn't walk through the site, but didn't identify trees. That there was ultimately no benefit to one of the people from my office coming down and meeting with you. He was told to sharpen his pencil and say with some of the trees, and that was pretty much the whole meaning. So we're just looking for clear direction. Saving 50% of the trees is essentially a taking of the property. We had designed a plan. That plan had included saving. If you want to go to the red, yellow, green.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Allow me to interrupt. 3 of us did go on Friday afternoon in the interior
Okay,
after the meeting on Wednesday.
okay.
That was Wednesday when you met your representative.
So you went after.
We went on Friday afternoon, 3 of us. And
Why
it's,
wouldn't you walk at the same time? Because I thought
Well,
that's what we were asked to attend, was to have that opportunity to walk beside with you.
Well, if I may, the employee that had visited the site didn't know anything by his own admission. He just said, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. And so with this, what we wanted to do and what we will probably hope to entertain with you before this meeting is over is to have someone who understands the trees that you want to remove in conjunction with the building that you propose, so that we can look at it and see if there are any reasons to save those trees that you're recommending removal.
So the plan that you have up there is the plan that I was asked to pull, so I'm not certain why that's up there. Because it's not the current plan. I was told to pull all of that information, which I did pull.
well, we have it anyhow. That's,
So I don't, and so that's on our current site plan. And so again, I was asked to pull everything, and so being asked to pull everything, I don't know why you would still have it, because that was not the intent of this meeting. I was told that that you all didn't want to see that.
They
Then
have
that's
in
not
their, they have in their possession the most up-to-date plans. The plans had not been found in the commercial development permit until after this packet was made, so they do have the most.
So what's on your computer right now? Those are obviously
Those are
the
the
not,
old plans,
those
but
are
they've
the old
got the
plans.
plans with the dog park and the,
but not, so do you have the map that you can show with the red without the building shown? So what you're looking at now in terms of the buildings is, so obviously you've seen the site before. I know you've seen it before because I've seen the plans. It was prepared by Seaman Whiteside and Associates, and they had buildings sprawled everywhere, including along that entire strip that you see that's kind of the finger coming off the parcel. And so when we came to the site, you know, the first thought was, let's put parking there, just like what they did. And then I convinced the owner, I said, hey, you know what? This is a great area to preserve. Let's turn it into a gazebo. Let's put a nature path. The nature path will just meander among the existing trees. The only trees we'll propose to remove, those that are orange or red, because for safety reasons, those aren't ideal to keep in a location that's a nature trail, and leave all the rest of it natural.
could you point that area out?
I don't know if there's a pointer or what, that whole strip
Okay.
area and all the tree area. The previous plan, that was an entire surface parking lot as well as garages, the ones that you had seen would have come through this department previously. And so the owner agreed, yes, let's go ahead and preserve it. Let's make it amenity. Let's put it green. So again, the only trees we proposed in that area to be removed were the poor condition trees for safety purposes. And then obviously all the trees and then the red and green strip for the property have been preserved. Some of those in the green area have been removed that are in that orange red condition because of safety purposes again. And then at one point we were actually saving trees, which again, these are old plans. And if you want, I can certainly hook up my computer and let you see all of the other, you know, you can pause and let you go through all the other applications. And I can log on and let you see, you know, plug in lines so you can see it on the screen. But originally when we went to the DRB, we had a corner of Somerville, of North Maple and the old Dairy Road extension, which is sitting right at that north east corner of the site. That
Scroll down.
That was all open before when we went to the
Other
DRB.
way. No,
Originally, okay, so scroll up, no, the other way.
they're not the top drawing of the two.
Nope,
No?
go to the bottom, all the Excel files.
But this is a good site right here. This will show it even better.
So in that corner, originally we went to the DRB, we were actually planning on saving those trees in that location. But the DRB made the suggestion that we should have a building in that corner. So that shifted and the building moved over to that corner and those trees were then not saved because of the shift, but.
We were aware of that and I take issue with that. And I would like to see a compromise because I was pleased to hear that you chose to leave, and that is, we were asked to look at clusters of trees, not just big trees. It's hard to do in there. It's 25 acres. This was an afternoon. That's a chore. And that's why this member here has asked that maybe it'd be nice to get out there with somebody who knows the site, who could talk a little bit to us.
My preference was hired the arborist. I didn't know that you were looking to have an arborist on site with you for the walk by the site. Again, you were just told that if you wanted to walk with us just to get a sense of what we're wanting to preserve. And so our thought was that we would be going and we have that plan with us and we would just be circling, okay, they're interested in this tree, they're interested in this tree, and kind of working their way around to have just eyes and ears around, if that makes sense.
We would like to do that.
Because that was his but we didn't know that you were going board to be an arborist. So that's why we just sent a representative
Okay.
from our staff to be there.
Yeah.
To kind of, and so because you created this new process, I think there's a lot of unclear information being sent to us, obviously incorrect information being presented even on the board that tried to strip and resend to you. Again, saving 50% of the trees, that pretty much removes the ability to develop the property. I know.
Where did you get 50% from?
That was what was mentioned in the field when my staff member was there, that was what one of the board.
No,
members had said.
nobody said that. I was there.
Okay.
Nobody said 50%. Of course, they would do it. It's a,
And I love trees, you know, I live on property, plenty of trees, and my neighbors were like, why don't you remove those? Those are an eyesore. And I'm like, I'm a Florida girl. I grew up near the Everglades. I love plant trees. They're not eyesores. They're beautiful. And so, you know, I appreciate trees. I just need to know what you guys actually want. I thought by creating that whole area as a kind of a nature trail was working with the site.
no, that's a godsend. Yes, we
So,
agree.
help me understand what you want. That's what we're working to get. If you
Well-
don't like having the building at that corner, maybe we need to get some people from the DRB, coupled with some people from the tree protection board. Because I would love to take the dog park and I'd love to flip it there because the dog park playground area can preserve trees and you incorporate it into the design by keeping those trees and just make it part of the amenity. But again, I feel like I have two sides kind of battling with what each side wants.
Why did you,
Pardon me?
why did you have, excuse me, have to move the building at the corner there?
They made the comment that that it was counterintuitive to not have a building at that location that they would suggest. a building be
On
at
right
that
up against the sidewalk.
Yes, right, it was counterintuitive because of the clubhouse, and so with the orientation of the clubhouse, you have the L, and within that L, you have the pool. And so that pool was open to kind of that area we were preserving. They said it was counterintuitive to have it where cars would be driving past and being able to see people in the pool, and they would prefer to have a building in that location. They would think it would be better.
Most people have a fence around their pool in their backyard, right?
So
And trees, are good buffer in areas like that.
I'm not disagreeing, I just feel pulled from two different
Yes,
directions.
yeah.
And there has to be some sort of middle ground because, you know, my client is not a cheap client. I've worked for a lot of clients that their bottom, it's always the bottom dollar. They never would have told me to see that section turn into a nature preserve. They never would have said, okay, go ahead and do this shift so that you can save something else. And that's what I've been doing, working with them on. And so I'd be happy to switch and put the dog park playground there and do less grading and put the other building back. But the DRB has to be okay with that. And I meet with them next week on Thursday. And so when I had phone conversations with the head of the DRB, who recused himself from this vote, and I believe that's maybe somehow linked with Stephen Whiteside,
Yes.
which is linked with the master plan. They didn't exactly say why he recused himself. He was happy to see the building at the corner, so I would just appreciate clear direction. And so if you're okay with the concept of, you know, obviously inside a site, the problem with trying to save a lot of trees inside a site, this is a really low site. So as you come in, you drop off. We can't drop off so much that we can't put attention because then you're affecting water quality and quantity in the environment. We don't want to do that either. So it's like this balancing act. What do you keep? And so if there's, again, I would love to share on the large screen, the current site plan, which I have on my computer, if you wanted to pause and do the other things after us, so we can kind of discuss it. And you can say, okay, well, we walked the site. There was a tree right here we identified. What can we do to save that? You should said that 3 of you went walk the site. Like, or if you look at our current site plan, there's much larger green space. So almost 50% of over 50% of the site is slated to stay as green space. It's not impervious. And I have those maps on my computer as well, but that was part of the TRB submission. And your submission was supposed to be just a strip. Don't show X's, don't show this, you know, pull back what you have and just show the site so you guys can see it without being affected by whatever the site plan is gonna look like.
Okay, well, I understand that and that's another matter. And we, despite saying anything else, we would love to see the new site plan. If, I don't know how you're talking.
I can essentially bring it up on my computer, put it on the thumb drive and you can put it into,
If you know how to do that.
I can probably make that happen. So is that okay?
And you would take a later position in the meeting today?
Correct.
That-
So when
that'd
the
be-
meeting would be going, I bring up my computer, I go ahead and plug it in, I get things going so that And I'm certain, I worked for the city of Greenville for 9 years. I think I could probably, hopefully, figure out your situation to get it plugged in so you can see it.
If for some reason we can't get a consensus or a compromise or whatever with DRB by Thursday, is that a huge problem?
So where we sit now is we went to the concepts. The concept is the first submittal, so this is the preliminary submittal. So if we have to go through a second preliminary submittal, it's probably not the end of the world. I just need clear direction.
Okay.
I feel like I'm not getting that. Obviously, I don't want clear direction being, oh, we want half the buildings removed, because we've actually already lost 18 units with the first go around with the DRB. We started at 336 units, but now down to 318 units, trying to have that a variation of floor plans. We had one floor plan to start, which is what you see here, one 4-story building, and now we have 3-story buildings, 4-story buildings, and 2-story carriage houses. And so we've already kind of taken that step. So I just want to make sure and trying to preserve, because as you know, the more you remove, then obviously it doesn't become a viable project. And I know that Somerville wants to grow, and I think Somerville is beautiful. It reminds me of home in Naples, Florida, which you probably don't want to hear, but it reminds me of that. So
I've
being
been
near the
there.
Everglades, you canopy and other things that I came to love living there. So yeah, if you would just put me at the end, let me hop on my computer and see what I can do, and maybe I can sit over there for a second next to you and take a look. That would be
Some of these
appreciated.
things I don't think we have been fully aware of either. I didn't know that the number of units had been reduced. I didn't know that.
No, we didn't either.
And
And
so
it's-
we need to be informed as well.
Right,
It's hard to make a decision when you don't have everything.
and it's hard for us from the outside, for me not being a person from Somerville and now from Greenville, to know what discussions you guys have internally and what discussions you don't have internally. This is a whole new process for me. When I came to the concept DRB, that was on a Thursday, and I parked over there in the parking lot. I was shocked to come out and find out my work car was surrounded by tents on all sides, and it was a block party because there was no signs. And so I had to wait for 3 more hours before I could go home. And so it's all a process for all of us, I think. And so I would love to pause, bring up my computer, and we'll just talk so everyone else doesn't have to have their time.
that would be great.
Yeah,
We'd also like to ask that we could have a walk with the arborist at some point, if that's possible.
Preferably in my end, not pushing it another month for that next TRB, like if we can do it close. But we can talk about that later. Let me get my
Right.
computer up and running. And try to get it where we can share.
Preferably not in the rain, preferably not in the rain.
Yeah, that's always nice. That's always nice. I don't mind the rain anymore. I always joke with people saying, despite your thought, I'm not gonna disappear like a witch into the ground, but you know.
I don't
yeah,
mind.
Everglades grow when used to the rain.
But Mr. Chairman, but before she leaves to amp up her computer, I don't know if Mr. Russell is planning to stay
Yeah,
to the end of this. Well, that's why I want to say something now.
yes, of course, he has a meeting later.
Right. Right. So no, I don't need to ask him the question now. This really is for your benefit and this board's benefit, that we would like to meet with an arborist on site. As I'm sure you're aware, if you've done large projects, for the first time to look at 22 acres of property and say, save those trees and get rid of those, that's fine with us. That's impossible to do if you are being a good steward for the town as we try to be. So we would like for Mr. Russell or someone of his staff who can answer questions about why this tree can't be saved or can be saved, as well as a person who will know where your buildings are intended to go and why those buildings can't shift this way 20 feet. So those are the kinds of questions we need to know. I would think. Thank you.
So you realize that you're not the only person pulled in different directions.
No, I can
We
see that.
are too.
Most certainly, I can see that.
Okay. Next item is, I haven't got it in front of me. 825 Wassenaw Road. Good morning.
Morning.
I want to build, want to build up a thing on, the only plan that I have for that, 32, 57, live oak. Then from the neighbor. To be.
And protection zone
Protection zone.
for the tree on the adjacent side. It'll be the encroaching over.
Where's that oak located?
In the
Is
neighbor's
right-
yard.
okay,
Neighbor.
Okay, yeah. Was that it for your request, just to have encroachment there?
Oh, there's a number of trees that you would like removed as well.
Yeah, they have some removals.
I was, then I have a kind of problem with another thing. I wanted the problem to be,
Are you guys still wanting to remove the pine also?
I was gonna talk to the neighbors, but do you remember that finance on the top?
Yeah.
It's almost,
Yeah.
it's
I
almost,
said, but we need to talk to the neighbor, if he's agreed to remove it or not.
oh, that's right. We're not sure which property it's on, right?
He stay directly on the line,
Okay, it's in the middle.
in the middle, and make
Yes.
a decision by himself.
Okay, that's, okay. And as I recall, there was a big maple in the back, which you plan to save.
Yes.
And also a sweet gum that's in jeopardy because you have to pull out a foundation from an old shed. But we think that can be done without cutting down the sweet gum, because otherwise the sweet gum is not in the way of your project.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So we think that's possible to, it's not a slab underneath, it's just a foundation around it. And I think a backhoe could just pick that right out of the ground.
Oh, I'm gonna make just the driveway is gonna be that. The driveway. Oh, the maple?
Right.
Oh,
No, that, and the gum is, that's the sweet gum right there. And you see the little foundation around it.
This is wall one,
I'm sorry?
that is wall foundation.
You say there's a wall around it? Yeah, there's a,
Wall foundation something, I don't know.
right. We don't think that's gonna hurt the, that tree. If it's
We're
part-
gonna remove, we're gonna clean out the wall. Because over there is kind of wall to building, we're gonna remove it and that part will show me. I don't know, some foundation maybe.
Well, if it's only a foundation for the little mini wall that's there, we think that that can be extracted without having to cut down the tree. We think the tree can be saved,
No, we're gonna not touch that.
the sweet gum.
Yeah.
Okay. And the maple on the back there also. Okay. I guess everything else is sitting in the footprint of the building, all the rest of the trees, except the one live oak by the street.
Let us stay in the direction, increase the line, already when the guys is doing the.
Yeah.
Electricity, all the trees is cut on the head already.
But
Almost everything is got good, like,
I know it looks great. It looks bad, yes.
all the trees in the front stay like electricity line. And I whether we talk to, you come in one more time, I talk, ask what we want to remove it because anyway, you're gonna make a problem on the electricity all the time, you need to cut in half. Because very no electricity line.
Would you be interested in compensating for the loss of that live oak? Because it's ugly, but it's not sick, dead, or dying. And so,
Agree. I can-
So you'd be willing to plant something else there on your property and,
I have that proper park in the back.
okay.
and you know Nick, so he could help you with that.
Gonna focus into.
Okay.
the wood kind of trees, all of them, we're gonna talk.
So that's all the discussion that I recall on the property of to the trees. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
What, did we determine whether or not we can allow the incursion into the root zone?
Of the large
Live
live
oak.
oak. That's the premier issue for the deal with,
Right.
not, and there are no more tree removals to talk about,
Right.
okay, right?
Okay.
Okay. Nick, do you want to weigh in on that encroachment? And Danny too.
To me, it seemed like it was vigorous enough live oak that I wasn't too worried about. Really, I'm a little more worried about the removal of invasive pine, just that back the root system. But the pine is ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't dispute that. But yeah, I wasn't too concerned, as long as tree protection is used. And, it would be great to have an arborist come out and do some treatment of the tree, before, during, and after construction, take care of it.
You can do that?
Nick, help me to remember on the property owners, the next door neighbor property owner, the live oak there, there's not anything affecting the roots on that side of the tree, is there?
The house is pretty far from it.
Yeah, it's wide open there. yeah.
Okay,
It's-
I think that'd be fine.
The pine is staying in my property. Up to-
Yeah.
Come to see.
Make good neighbors.
Right.
You do understand about tree protection when you are going to preserve, protect the roots and the fencing that needs to be around.
Yeah.
There are some people that cut corners on that and don't preserve it well enough. Think about where those roots really are and out maybe further than you might think. But find out where it needs to be. Just having a fence there and that's too close. Too many people have done that and it's just wrong.
The back parking lot. That's fine. But also then I need in the side.
Okay,
What you think will make better solution.
good,
Okay.
good.
Gonna, how many people there is not. So, I'm a bit.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other discussion? Then I'll make the motion that we approve the the tree removal plan, and contingent on satisfactory, discussions on the root zone protection for the neighbor's live oak and for the mitigation of the live oak along the street.
With the incursion into the root zone, I'd like to ask that an arborist direct treatment of that tree before and after the construction.
Good idea.
So you would like for me to reform the motion or just add that as an amendment?
Reforming.
Okay,
Better.
you move that we accept the tree removal plan by the owner, contingent upon the prior and afterwards proper root zone protection for the neighbor's live oak and for mitigation for the live oak that's going to be removed by the street.
I'll second that.
All those opposed, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. $356 Prestwick. Anybody representing that property? And that involves, can't read this. One red cedar. I remember that. Any discussion, thoughts?
No, I see no need to remove that red cedar. It's really not leaning that much. None of it, I don't believe any of its roots are causing disruption to the sidewalk. It's something that's been done earlier. So, I move to deny the request to remove it.
Second.
Certainly with that tree being that far from the sidewalk, they could do some rooting at the sidewalk and just wouldn't be a problem.
Okay, the motion's been seconded.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Why did they want it removed?
Challenging the sidewalk perhaps.
Yeah, and there was a slight lean to it.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Uh-uh.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next address? You have. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you from the last page. 114 Cromwell Court. Sorry, sir. Yes.
Good morning.
I'm sure I know you guys have been out there with my wife and everything. I
Right.
wanted to take down 4 pine trees and 1 oak. The 2 pine trees in the front are pretty much on top of the sidewalk and have already started to lift the sidewalk up. Our previous owner, who we bought the house from, advised that the trees, unknown which ones, had caused a problem with the water line that runs underneath the driveway. They had to replace the driveway portion of it with the water line at one point. I don't know what year that was or anything like that, but that's all been squared away since. But it's still in very close proximity to the sidewalk, and we don't want any more issues with that going on. When the arborist did come out and did find the presence of termites in one of the trees, and the way the shape of the other tree creates a very chance for it to snap. And I know he said he gave conditional approval for those 2 trees on front. The next tree is on the side that's right next to the HVAC system, the AC. It's in very, number 4 right there. It's really close proximity to the AC system in the house, and we want that removed just because it's leaning towards kind of the house. And if something were to happen, that would fall right on the master bedroom and where my kid sleeps, and we don't want that to happen. And then the number 3 tree is right behind it, kind of the same deal. It's in very close proximity to the house. And I know he mentioned, the arborist mentioned that there's no limbs or anything going all the way up to the top, so they're all hardy trees, and like you said, the property, we have probably 20+ trees in the property. That's one of the reasons why we bought the property, because we love the trees, we love the canopy it makes. We just don't want the trees to be inside the house and be a storm or a bad hurricane season. And the last is the oak tree right there. It's just in a no problem with the tree. It's just in a very bad location with all the other trees. And it looked like it had some sort of issue going on with it, but when the arborist came out and said it looks like it might be a pine tree, but there's a pine tree directly to its left. Looks like the angle issue is right, another pine tree back behind it, and it's kind of the shorter tree, and all of the trees around it has a hard time getting all the way up to the sun, and it seems like it's going to stunt the growth of everything around there. So we kind of wanted to open that up a little bit so the trees can kind of grow to the fullest. Pretty much everything I got.
Okay. Thoughts, observations?
Well, as we discussed on site, the water line disruption that you had, that your previous owners had issues with, I declare, I just don't believe it was caused by the pine tree. That if it was caused by a tree, it might have been caused by the live oak tree that's much closer with much more robust roots. And that could easily be handled probably, in most cases, with some judicious root pruning. So, I don't see, I don't see a need to remove that tree closest to the driveway. Though, because of the structure and some structural issues, I can see proving the removal of the second pine tree. There.
In the front yard.
In the front yard.
Yeah.
Those are in the front.
Number 1.
Also, the first tree is the one that had termite issue with it. Okay.
You talking about pine tree one?
Oh, two, tiny two.
Two had the
One close to the driveway.
days,
Okay, but you gave,
one at the dominance of the section of the shade.
right,
Other side of the tree about right here over.
right.
But the termites that you found were not formosans, right?
And not good with ID on.
Yeah, it's just,
They were,
to find-
they were gone when we got there. We examined and peeled gently off bark all the way around the tree. If they were consuming something, it was dead wood. They're not feeding on the live pine wood, not on that tree, and I don't know
Yeah,
that.
we do have termite protection, so. Move by the house is fine, but also it's almost right on top of the sidewalk where it's at. I don't know if the picture kind of shows that.
It doesn't, but I'm trying to remember if we thought
I remember
it was far enough away for root pruning, or would it have to been on the other side? I forget how far away the bowl on number 2 was from your sidewalk.
You'd step on where the roots are at and the sidewalk at the same time. So you could touch the tree from the sidewalk. It's that close.
Is it lifting now? I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
the sidewalk, it's not like massive differential, but it is a little bit of it. We have 2 small kids that run up and down the sidewalk. One tripped the floor on it, because the kids, I don't know if that was a single problem with it, but there is a little bit of a lip to it. So the plan, when we hopefully gets approved, is to remove the trees and then grind down some of the sidewalks so it's all smooth and flush.
Well, I wish I could remember exactly.
Well, I've got a good picture of it. I mean, it's close, but it's. I don't think it's so close that to warrant removing that tree. Cause we don't know. I mean, we really don't know which root is causing that damage. It could be from the tree.
The
that's
big
gonna be
one.
removed. So, I mean, if there was some root, some excavation done and you could show that it's a root from that tree that is causing the damage to the sidewalk and it cannot be removed. I mean, then maybe we could consider it, but I didn't see the damages being, I did see the lift, a slight lift, but I didn't see enough to warrant removal of that tree, just in my mind.
So one of the fears, if it keeps growing, how much more the lift's gonna be, and if it's that close already to the foundation, that it's gonna keep causing an issue. I'm not a tree person, so I don't know
Right,
how
yeah.
long that might be. We bought the house in July, so we're trying to get everything squared away to the house, so we don't have to worry about it down the road.
Of course, and that's understandable.
As far as the root challenge in the foundation of the house, that could be taken care of with root pruning on the other side of this, on the house side of the sidewalk. Whether it's, the only thing you have to be careful with any of that is knowledge of where the utilities are. With the root pruning, but there's quasi gentle ways to do that with one qualified organization has thing called air spaders. We actually use air and not sharp shovels to separate the soil to find the roots, and then they're cut. But anyhow, the foundation fear could be taken care of, but it would have to be on the other side of the sidewalk. Let's move on to the other trees and hold this in abeyance for a moment. 4 sounds like you were quite worried about it.
Right, yeah, that's right next to the HVAC system, the AC is in there, as well as that corner of the house is where 2 of the bedrooms are located on that side of the house.
Is there a picture of the crown of that tree, Nick?
There you go.
No, that's number 1.
That's one.
Yes.
If we look at towards the home. from which- Okay, just take the-
So nothing in the trunk, just limbs only. Yeah, I just didn't see anything wrong with either one of those trees. I know you're concerned about the proximity to the house, but as far as the overall health, those trees should be fine and shouldn't be an issue as far as falling or anything like that, just because of the way they are structured.
Is it three, is it number three that has the shepherd's?
Yes,
I do have a concern about number three in that shepherd's crook, that it's, you know, in a wind, that could be an issue, and if you could, I don't think it can be pruned and save the tree, so I personally, I don't, I'm certainly not speaking to the rest of the board, but I wouldn't have a problem with removal of number three.
That is the one that had a fairly low LCR.
right. Okay, just to complete, and then we'll go back to these trees we haven't totally decided on. The next one after that is the live oak. Which presents an interesting scenario in a way. It is doing those things and crowding the understory. It does look like something was, you know, it had some branches that were cut and had some, it's compensated for it well. One of the things that we do, particularly the arborist, is use a rubber mallet and tap the tree looking for hollowness. That tree was considerably hammered just to find something, because it's amazing that it is recovered. But again, it's a live oak and they're in a different class. But it did very well to the sounding test. What we discovered in the process, of course, was that big pine tree in the back, whose removal will is not one you listed, but we hardly recommend. I don't know how far we went in there, Danny, with the probe, but it went way in there.
Yeah, it was considerable.
Yeah, I didn't realize how bad it was until you showed really.
Yeah.
I took the knife all the way through and all the way past the hilt, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be definitely down the road, but future down the road, we have a little bit of time to figure that out, since we can't add that right now.
Yeah, that's a big job.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but that will change the dynamics of the environment that live oak and everyone else lives in with the removal of that huge canopy. Sorry to say, but
Would make a difference.
we were hard pressed, I think, to find reasons to want to remove the oak.
Yeah, the oak really wasn't, we didn't want to remove it for the location for anything there, because, I mean, that whole corner is just gonna be green space, it's gonna be natural.
Right.
And we were just worried about the impact it had on the other trees as well as itself. So when we first looked at it, like I said, I didn't know how bad it was. It looked pretty nasty with that knot and how it reformed, but when he came out, he showed me all about it and how strong it is, and he did the mallet test and this stuff.
Oh, you see, okay,
Yeah, so like I said, I'm not too, that tree has no, I'm not worried about it if it falls or does anything. It's nowhere near the house, it's nowhere near anything. And we like it, but I didn't know what impact it would have on everything else. Cause I know that magnolia looks like it's a little stunted because of that. I think it's a magnolia that's right.
Yeah.
You know, and if you, in the not too distant future, are able to remove the pine, and then you could see how the removal of that and the increased sunlight then affects the live oak and the magnolia, and make a decision then, is what I would recommend. If it was my property, I think that's the way I'd be thinking about it.
Yeah, like I said, that one, I'm not concerned about it. Denied. I don't even think if we get it approved, I don't think it's actually found out. I don't think this is like I said, we like the trees in our property, we want them there.
Right.
We just want enough space and safety in our house, and we don't have to worry about things through. Or other farms that have behind.
all right, well, let's go back to tree number 2 and tree number 4, where the major discussions occur. I'm inclined to agree with most of what I've heard. I surely think, and your wife pointed out where the water line was broken. I assume it was on the other side of on your neighbor's side of the sidewalk, of the driveway, right?
Yeah, it's, the driveway comes up and the sidewalk tees into the driveway and the water line goes kind of at an angle. So it was close, it was like not close to the number 2 tree, half the distance between the number 2 tree and that other tree kind of behind it. There's a bunch of pictures on the left, looking on the neighbor's side as well. But it does go at an angle, apparently to the garage on the side closer to our house.
The water line does,
Correct.
right? But the break that occurred was in that little triangle of earth on the other side of the,
No, so that was, we had a lot of water breaks apparently. So when we first bought the house, the plumber, the original plumber didn't use the right pipes in at first at the water shut off close to the neighbor's house. We had to fix that, but the former neighbor, this was in the middle of the driveway, underneath the driveway, where the sidewalk, if you kind of remember, it was out how the sidewalk bisected the driveway. Apparently, the driveway used to go all the way up. They cut out a piece and they run concrete through it, because there was a break underneath it. I don't know what all happened. They said that it was a break underneath the driveway. I imagine it was from a tree root or something of that nature, and that's the only tree it's the tree that's kind of closest, half that one and half the other one. So that most of that is under assumptions based on what we will.
Right.
Right. But like I said, we do have the problem that the tree is right next to the sidewalk and it is up between the sidewalk. So.
and back to number four,
I think it was 3.
now 3 shepherds. 4, yes, 4. This one here is the other one. I didn't really see anything wrong with that tree. I know it's close. It's far enough away from the house that some judicious root pruning at the foundation would certainly take care of that. Again, know where the utilities are, as always. But I didn't see anything wrong with the tree. I didn't see anything wrong with the tree that it was asking to be, if you will, put it being a problem, in the near future. It was a good crown. It was just leaning a slight bit, but the tree has good taper. I just didn't feel comfortable feeling that needed to go. Things change over time. There may be an issue later that it be more of a concern.
And if you do root pruning for that tree 4, it would need to be at the foundation of the house, no further toward the tree.
Right, the further away you are, the less damage you're gonna do to the tree, because you damage the tree, then you end up having to take it down anyhow. Anybody else want to talk about number 4?
I was okay with 4. I think we probably need to talk about 3. That's the Shepherd's Brook in that one there.
Right.
I think we're probably pretty much in agreement on that. If I'm allowed to say that.
I think you can.
What did you think about 3?
I think if we could stand being removed.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if Claude didn't have concerns about it.
Well, if you look at the structural issues and you do look at the Shepherd's Crook, maybe that is something that needs to be taken into account. Personally, I was okay with the tree, but overall, the yard is heavily loaded with pines. And, I could probably go with removal on 3.
Any more discussion?
The fact that you do have other trees counts.
I'm sorry?
The fact that you do have other trees counts with
Oh, yeah.
those.
That's what I said, one of the main reasons why we bought the property is we love the trees and close to nature, and on our back left is all nature, all trees in a nice little area. So that we want a little bit of yard, a little bit of safety, and not have to worry about anything without nature.
Nick, on tree number 2, you gave preliminary removal on that one because of the termites, is that right?
termites and the, water line concerns, I just felt like those two things combined. But they are fairly mature ponds. But that was one that I half expected to be overturned.
Mhm.
Guys, that it was a little bit of a stretch for me to approve that one, because I know that termites are not necessarily the best sentence for ponds.
Right.
What about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But just little things added up where I leaned to approval at staff level.
How about the sidewalk proximity? What did you feel?
Wasn't terrible.
None of this stuff is straightforward. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about sidewalks, that the tree is loaded mostly towards the road, so it is probably putting out anchoring roots towards the sidewalk. Just to compensate for the.
Try to my wife. actually.
Right.
Raised you from work.
You surely did. Not a root pruning candidate to save the sidewalk on the tree side of the sidewalk.
I would be a little nervous
Okay.
with the anchoring roots being on the opposite side, but yeah, this is one that I definitely wanted to yield to greater expertise in my own.
Well, what about if an arborist came out there and just looked at the roots and just seeing how much they are affecting or not affecting the sidewalk, and then kind of make a decision from there? That's what I would recommend. Would y'all be okay with that? Just having an arborist coming out there and digging along the sidewalks and seeing where the roots are coming from, if that's what is indeed lifting up those
Yeah,
sidewalks?
That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do.
Okay.
Ideally, we kind of like it going, but it's, like I said, the close proximity to the house where it's located and everything like that. It's just one of those things, but I mean, we'll yield to the better heads when it comes to things of that nature.
I mean, I'd hate to remove that tree and find out that the roots were not affecting the sidewalk, I
Right.
guess is what I'm getting at.
I don't know if there's, I don't know how you do like dig down to the roots, because the roots go almost right to the sidewalk, like you can see, because the tree and I guess the ball of it is elevated above the sidewalk. So I don't know how you do that.
What they would do, just so that you know, and you can think about what they would do is many of them would just use air. But you could use a shovel or air and just unearth the soil and find down a foot or so to see if there is a root coming through in that area that might be disrupting the sidewalk. And if and that way we know, yes, it's from that tree. And can it be, and then the second question is, can that root be root pruned and the tree not have to be removed, or is it so large, or are there so many that you can't root prune it, that the tree has to come down? In which case, you could reapply, and then we would certainly grant the removal of the tree. It's just that we would like to be sure that, yeah, that is the problem. That it's not something else
Is
with
that
that one.
something that we'd have to pay for at Arslan, or is that something the town will come out and do? Assessment for,
No, you need to do that.
you know, just a ballpark, how much that costs?
Gosh, I don't want to speak for a commercial arborist. I might get us both in trouble.
And you have to go before the council again.
To remove the tree, yeah.
But usually if you have an arborist letter stating that there's an issue there, we're probably gonna go along with his report.
I'm wanting to make a motion. I'm still torn about this one.
Which you're still torn about number two.
Number two, but,
Well, I'm curious, what makes you? What are your concerns?
the future contribution of that tree to issues like this, because of its proximity to the sidewalk. We're all about saving trees, and so these are difficult, and and you appreciate trees and you picked a yard and a house that's surrounded by trees and that's great. That's music to our ears. So we're supposed to save all the trees we can. But I also appreciate the other side of that. What you're gonna have to go through to determine the process, have to go through and resubmitting and all that for tree number 2.
Mr. Chairman, forgive me for interrupting. Looking at hearing your position and thinking about all the other trees on the lot that I might be able to go along with removal of both those trees. Looking at it, so if we would grant removal of 1, 2, and 3.
Is that, you're making that as a motion?
It was for discussion, but I will move if we're ready to
That
move
was the
on.
motion I will be
Yeah.
making as well.
So therefore, I move to grant permission for the removal of trees 1, 2, and 3, and no to the rest.
I second it. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion passes. Trees 1, 2,
And 3.
and 4. Someone said 3, but it's 4.
No, it's 3.
No, it's 3.
3.
3 is the shepherd.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna be beating this one to death. 3 can be removed.
Are we good with proceeding forward, like, or do we have to wait for anything else? This is all new to me. Okay,
I think you're.
yes, they're on the email. Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Glad you made it.
I'm good with it.
Yes, thank you. Most important part.
But she's right.
That was a hard one.
Yeah, it was.
This one
It is
did
hard
not
to know
make
who she's
more
with.
case. We're
Yeah,
skipping,
Okay.
King, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're skipping King Charles.
Okay.
Okay.
You aren't supposed to go out there. Here is the short.
Okay, here is 109, the support us, which is an encroachment issue, which got really complicated when we were out there.
You all have the office letter. I uploaded that.
I didn't see it.
I did not see that.
I did not either.
So I don't have it.
Did they talk about the condition of the?
But it's weird because it's on the neighbor's lot.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be weird for us to.
yeah, so I have 2 copies of it. Make some simple.
Oh. Pass it down then. You can give one, Nick, you don't have one, right?
I'm trying to pull it up now.
Well, rather than pass it down, if it's important, somebody can just read it.
Hmm?
You could just read it rather than, or we,
Want me to read it?
well, I think so, rather than all of us having to take the time to read it.
Okay. That's because my voice is so clear.
Well, I'll read it for you. I don't care. Or David can.
Go ahead. I'm gonna stumble with anyhow.
You,
He offered.
okay, so this is, from Chris Gerard's. It goes, this week you asked me to inspect trees on and surrounding number 109 South Fortis Lane in Somerville, South Carolina, below are my findings and recommendations regarding significant trees. Findings are there's a double leader, 48-inch laurel oak on the neighbor's property at the fence line. Tree is an aged nature laurel oak with a full crown. Tree is bifurcated at the house. Tree shows a significant crack about 6 feet up, and there's a photo that documents it. Tree has significant callus growth at the bifurcation, meaning that the connection has been moving for quite a long time. This tree is a serious risk of failure and should either be repaired with an extra high strength cable or removed. Tree gets a D rating. The 19 and 24-inch laurel oak
on the right side of the property line. Trees are co-joined at the base. The 19-inch leader shows a significant lean to the left. The larger tree shows significant decay in the trunk. About 20 to 25 feet up, that leader is in poor condition and gets a D rating. The 19-inch leader gets a C rating. So he goes on to say that the plan shows that the building envelope to be a good distance from the critical root zone of the 45-inch laurel oak, or about 27 feet from the trunk of the tree. 25 feet would be the area of critical root zone from the trunk. That leaves 6 foot to work within. In this arborist's opinion, that 20 foot will suffice for critical root zone. The area does have to be demarcated with a sturdy fence and covered with a layer of wood chips about 4 inches deep. The building envelope on the right side of the house is about 12 feet from the base of the tree, which should be sufficient for critical root zone. Particular attention has to be paid to not further encroach on the root zone. Install a sturdy fence and cover the root zone with 4-inch layer of wood chips. Owner says some fill will encroach upon the critical root zone. This does not necessarily have an adverse effect on the tree roots if the soil underneath is not disturbed. Builder plans to shift the building envelope, the building envelope 3 to 4 feet to the left to give the right side of the tree some more room. That should work for all trees on the right and left side. Cluster of 4 laurel oaks on the right side should not be impacted by the construction. It's highly recommended that before construction starts and before fencing is installed, a layer of approximately 4 to 6 inches of wood chips is spread over the critical root zone before installing fencing.
I just wanted to.
Thank you.
I'd read it again.
I discussed this one a little bit with Bessie. With the amount of decay that was found, number of the adjacent trees. This one could likely be kind of looked at again from a staff level. Would you be handling these removals if you had,
None of the trees in question. So we had attempted to contact, looking at the lot, the neighbor to the left for that huge split tree, we tried to talk to him 3 or 4 times, and doesn't appear to do anything with it.
that was where this kind of became more complicated.
Yeah.
Some of these trees.
That's you can drive a truck through that one, almost.
So essentially the plan that's up here, the site plan that's up here, we basically shifted the entire house 4 feet towards the larger tree to give everything on the right-hand side, the trees that are in better shape. All of the silt fence would essentially be 12 feet from that. The property line on the right, the silt fencing would be, and the tree protection would be 20 feet from the property line on the left. We would go all the way from the back of the lot to the front, down to the street. So nothing on either side could be accessed. Also, all of that would be filled with 46 inches of wood chips. When Chris and I walked the lot, he didn't show a whole lot of concern for the ones on the right-hand side after we shifted the house over. The one on the left, he was very concerned with. Especially, obviously the homeowner is as well. Once we have the house built, if that tree fails, it's going to fall right on top of that. So I'm not sure how to proceed with that because I can't cut it down. Not without, if it's on the adjacent property. I would prefer, as Chris suggested, to just put a cable or something in it. But again, we can't access that property without the other owner's permission.
So you've talked to the owner though, right? Or someone has,
We've attempted to.
but no conversation at all.
Did you do it by mail? You didn't knock on the door?
Chris suggested I spoke with him again last week, and he suggested to send him like a certified letter, just so that, I guess, insurance wise, we would be covered that if the tree ever, failed, that the new house, the insurance would be aware that we had notified the neighbor, of the situation. But
he said from a legal standpoint, there was nothing that he,
Who is he?
the arborist.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm sorry, Chris Gerard, the arborist, he said he had never really come across a situation where, you know, like this, you know, generally people that live in the downtown area are a little more friendly with.
Right.
Would you, or would your client be willing to remove, if you got permission from the adjacent property owner, be willing to remove that portion of the tree that overhangs this lot to protect the house from that portion of the tree falling on it? I'm just, that's not, I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying, that's something you all could explore.
Yes, I mean, possibly, you know.
You would have to pay for it.
Correct. I don't think financially it would be the issue, you know, there would just be, you know, again, a lot of the reasons that, he bought, so we met several months ago, about the one across the street, the 110.
Right.
A huge tree in the middle of the lot. You know, the reason he bought the lots was for the trees, you know, so I think that he would be much more open to cabling that tree back together, you know, or something of that nature, as opposed to.
Yeah, so, this is the portion of it that I would have to handle at a staff level.
Okay.
But that tree does, I do not like this part of my job. I don't like making people cut down trees.
Yep.
But we do have to do that, and that tree does, meet the criteria for something that poses a pretty serious risk. The tree will get cut down. And be a difficult process though. That's why I asked if there was any way that we could get their approval for the removal. It would be a lot simpler if you guys could remove it. I know that's at your cost, so that's not really fair to you, but for time constraint, an enforced removal can take a little bit of time. It's something that kind of bounces out.
Oh, would that affect us building, because that's on the adjacent property?
No, just, if you felt comfortable building it there, before it was removed. But that tree is not safe.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't be surprised if last night, I'm not gonna take away that today. The split was pretty substantial. But yeah, we can look at that in-house as far as how to do it. That tree in particular, that one is the highest level threat, but there are a couple out there that I won't enforce removal of the tree if it's not pretty. The crack one is
Or and the chain link fence.
And I know Chris very well, Chris Gerard, and know his work, his cabling work. And Chris is a friend actually, but I would take issue with with the notion that tree should be cabled.
Okay.
I mean, and I say that only for your client's sake, not to pick a fight with
Oh,
Chris.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was just an option.
Right.
to, You know, hey, you know, obviously he doesn't get the tree down either.
Right.
It was definitely, he was very concerned. When we.
As he should be, yeah.
So
We don't have an issue, right?
No, not at all. I would say the prospect of removals is something that needs to be handled at a staff level, and that the encroachment, I think, your guys. But there will be likely a couple. We'll have to do that. Step on the gas.
Well, with that in mind, do we,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
I don't even know that this requires a motion from us.
And that's kind of what Jesse and I discussed.
Yeah.
So we may need to look at this.
Right. Before we go on, was there an issue, was there a significant issue, or we didn't even know why the tape was around that large willow oak that was closer to the street on the other side of that big laurel oak?
I assume that probably else, but I'm not really sure. It looked like it was some of the trees out there.
I'm not sure. We when they bought this lot, they closed in July. This one was clean. Like it had already been everything on it, white. The one across the street was the same one. Closed, they bought both lots the same day. The one across the street was one of the large live oak record. Nothing has been done to that one. So I'm not sure at what point who came in there and did what. We surveyed 110 first, so he just based the survey on 109 off of the information he already had, so we didn't.
Okay,
So I just need to resubmit with you or.
Yes, yeah, I'll reach out to you pretty much.
Okay. Okay. That'll work.
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck. Next address. To Kaminsky Park. Anybody here from Kaminsky Park? Drive, road. Okay, I remember this one pretty well. You,
Yeah. My sense of it was that the pine that's on the left, I believe, might warrant removal, but the, was it laurel oak, water oak, did not.
was a water oak, yeah. Oh, yeah, it was not a big threat, I agree. The thing about the pine tree was it had the marginal appearance of one of the dendroctonii, whether it's southern pine beetle or turpentine beetle or what. And that's where we briefly discussed, it would be wonderful if, I don't forget her name, if she's truly, or David were there to take a look at this tree and see if this truly was southern pine beetle. You took some pictures. I don't know whether they came out very well. But it was just scattered. There's one here, there's some underneath a branch. One of them was really big like that. And that's not southern pine beetle, is it? That was pitching out and everything. There was stuff on the ground, according to the owner. Resin on the ground.
Yeah, it's hard to say without seeing it.
But it was not widespread like I've seen. Southern pine beetle hits, it's just like, you know, someone's had a shotgun at it. There's a good one.
Pretty large, and I think there are a couple pictures.
Yeah, it's usually in the bole of the tree. But
There was one or two in the bole of the tree.
that could be just something that's bored in the tree and
Right.
won't do any damage, but
That wasn't the reason for the request there.
Set of pitch to it's really larger than what I've ever seen out in the field. Except for on the
yeah,
long leaf pines and.
it's hard to tell.
They have similar pitch tubes.
But there were just one here and one there. It looks like one's right up
That's
here
right.
too.
That's right. One here, one there. Big woodpecker.
But the canopy looks healthy so far.
yeah.
It does, yeah, it was.
I mean, it's not any indication.
And that wasn't the reason for the request either. The reason for the request was that it was just proximity to the house and the foundation.
How far is it from the house?
Pretty good distance.
Yeah, it was 10 feet.
Mhm.
From the.
Any other discussion? Can I have a motion? I'll make a motion. You want to go ahead?
Well, I was gonna ask a question. Are we ready to move, or did you want to do a further investigation of the pine tree? You ready to entertain a motion?
Well, the investigation among ourselves, I asked and there's no other comments.
Okay.
I'd love to know more about the southern pine beetle issue.
But so that we could defer it if you
How
want
are
to do
you
further
gonna get-
investigation, and I'll make that motion if that's what we'd like to do.
If it's even possible to get what her name is, I forget, out there to look at it.
with the South Carolina Forestry.
Yes, I forget her name. You mentioned it a lot, but I don't remember.
Well, she usually refers me to the guy, I can't remember his name, but I do have their email. I'll try to check out,
Okay,
please look at photos of
okay.
which.
So therefore, Mr. Chairman, I move that we defer this issue until we can do some further investigation through the South Carolina Forestry Commission.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
More information is always good.
The next address is Halscombe Court. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Okay, that's one.
Morning.
So, I have this, artist letter in here. Mr. Harris, after this, so we stopped by 103 Telstone Court. Some bills have come in to assess 7 pine trees in the backyard. All appear relatively healthy, but did see some issues regarding stability and risk of failure. 3 pines on the far right side. I have pictures to looking at the house in front, pictures attached. 2 have a natural root and 1 has an abnormal curve and decayed areas along the stem, indicating weak spots and compromised structure. 2 leaning pines, 1 in the yard directly behind the house, pose a risk to the homeowners, which pose a risk to my house, and the pine in the corner leaning towards both my neighbor's yards. The other 4 pines, 1 in the middle, 3 on the left, have signs of wind stress, cracks, damaged bark exposing the Camden bare grass, wood-borne insects such as some pine plants. I will pick the record.
They would have been well to have received that before today.
Sorry, I didn't know that. Should I know? Can I give this to y'all?
Certainly.
Sure. Again, more information is always good. It helps us. We don't like working in the dark.
We need to get this down to Nick quickly here. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think I may have handed it to you a little bit out of order.
I'll just pass some of these down as we go. Yeah. Let me ask you, why did you initially want to have these trees removed?
They're posing a threat to my house, all the pine needles. My roof is too steep for me to safely call up there without proper equipment. And I can't get up there to move on pine needles, and it's gonna rot my chimney and roof of my house. It's also, they just litter. There's so much pine needles, it attracts roaches. I've already had that treated. Those threat to my neighbor's house. But then leaning on both right and left sides.
That's an issue. Yeah, it's not necessarily.
Your neighbor take the litter. So if I can't get them removed, I'll definitely get them trimmed up, but I'd like to have them removed so I can try to get some grass growing in my backyard, because these pine trees, they can grow grass. Every 2 weeks, I have to landscape and pull out all the pine shrubs, the road, HOA's tired of me of that. But those pine trees just a headache, honestly, sir.
Well, I can say this much, if there is any pruning to be done, it surely needs to be not to the degree that that one tree is pruned. That's in violation of pretty much our ordinances. It took way more than 20% of what that crown was. Fortunately, it's a very healthy tree and will probably survive, but that was extreme. Yeah, that may reduce pine needles, but it'll also reduce the longevity of the tree. Then you have to pay.
That is something that we want. Okay, over 20%. I didn't pay for that. Yeah, I figured. I just, when I seen all the mess in front of the house and like this put off, they just sort of they just left all the debris. And taking.
If he has a house, that's a test too. Just underneath that, I mean, it's lesser than. So,
Let Danny's, let Danny, let Nick see that.
oh, you haven't seen it, Nick? I'm sorry.
No, he hasn't. Is that another sheet right there, Claude?
No, this is,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm not comfortable if there's legitimate findings on those photographs. I'm not comfortable approving anything based on the photographs without us looking at them again.
I agree. I think we need to take that information and revisit the site.
Me too.
We certainly realize the problem with the one in the back corner. That's obvious. And I don't know if you gave that staff level approval, Nick, the one?
Yes.
I'm sure you did.
One tree is.
Yeah, there's a picture of it there.
That's
Right. So if there's no more discussion, I would like to move that we defer this. This is the day of the deferrals.
It is.
Till we have a chance to look at the site again and examine the trees based on the information this person has provided.
Yep, second.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll see you again.
What time will I receive an email?
I will have to get with Nick will be the one who does that.
I'll send you an email later this afternoon. No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have one more, I believe.
Revisiting the.
Oh, okay. Was Telescom the last? Okay.
So while she's loading up, Mr. Chairman, and this is for staff as well, staff can direct us. There needs to be some sort of ruling in my mind, whether it's passed by this board or dictated by the town, that we should not have to go, we should not accept any arborist qualification letters
The day off.
on the day of, no, it needs to be 10 days before, or at least 2 days before we receive our packages.
The deadline is technically the same day as the payment deadline, the Friday before site visits, so 10 days prior to the meeting.
Okay.
I mean, when people submit them late, I send them to you so that you can look at them if you choose to, but they are past deadline, and that deadline already exists.
Right, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But is that very noticeable on the application? Can we enlarge the font or something? Because I hate sending these people back for another, to come back again,
Yeah.
but I ain't going to look at them on the day of.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just foolish.
The issue is it's not listed in the application, so, because not every case requires an arborist report.
Right.
So it's usually something that Nick or I will provide an email or letter telling them that
Okay.
they need to provide. And if that is the case, then they are also told that it is the same day as the payment deadline.
Okay.
But in the case of both of the ones that were submitted late this time, neither received that notification, so they just submitted them when they got them, I guess.
Right.
Is that something that can be put on the application? Just, if you deem to have a arborist report, make sure it's submitted when you do your payment or something like that.
I'm sure we would have to get with Citizen Serve,
Okay.
support to get that done, and they are not timely, but we could certainly get the ball rolling on that process.
If you would,
I
I
would
think
have
that'd
to
be
run
great.
it by Jesse, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be an issue, but.
That'd be great if you could.
So the existing deadline is what for payment?
It's the Friday prior to site visits, so 10 days prior to the actual.
Okay.
meeting.
We would even like to get it by then, right? I mean,
I'd love to
Yeah,
get
I
it
think
on the
that's-
Friday before. It's always.
by that Friday before
Yeah,
the site visits.
but we can try and make it clear in the application. I just send things when they submit late, just so that you guys have that additional information.
No, and we appreciate
But you
that.
could put a note on the top. We don't have to read this too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, technically, we just mark that after the deadline, but I figure it's better to provide it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, I can discuss that.
See what she says and let us know. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Randy.
Well, in this case, I mean, the arborist letter was good and the pictures were good, but we don't know what tree the pictures go with, without,
Good point.
without revisiting. We have no idea what.
I'm not sure that that person is ISA certified.
He doesn't say so. He said.
No, he's a
he's
taproot
certified
specialist.
tree worker.
He's a taproot specialist.
A certified tree worker is a step below a certified arborist. You have to take a test to do that, but you're not studying, what you're studying is, physical tree work, not the science of tree care.
Is it possible that we could defer? If we don't have all the information, I mean, and that would save us a lot of time. If we don't have the information, well
I can
then,
also, you can always defer if you don't feel you have adequate information. But I can also include in their tree board notification that they include any documentation that they wish to provide by that deadline as well. So they are getting that notification in multiple places, so it's harder to miss.
Yeah.
So I can start doing that. But yeah, of course you can defer anytime you feel you don't have adequate information.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking, we have nothing to go by when we go back there. Cause as Dave just pointed out, that there's no tree number identification. There's no map, there's no nothing.
We'll have to search for what he was showing
Right.
on his pictures.
And I don't know whether-
apply it to a certain tree number.
And I think it's bogus, and I think we would be wasting our time.
And with unresolved citations being wrapped up in that whole thing, and with the admission that the neighbor is the one that's bringing that, I think that issue is the enforcement issue first, probably. If we could do, I think that the code enforcement portion of that needs to be handled before any removals are done.
So we don't even need to anticipate a date being set soon for us to revisit, like on the next.
Well, you just, I will make sure that I am able to handle that. But I
Okay.
would assume
Good.
that I need to handle the code enforcement.
I should have said it,
Yeah.
should have
Makes
worded the motion that way.
Wait, I don't agree with that. That if a citizen applies, then we need to make a response. If they ask us to make a determination, we can tell them, no, we don't agree, but we need to go look and see. We can't just poo-poo it.
it puts us in an awkward position to have to, deal with all this that's not complete or a sticky situation. We need to have things resolved before we meet.
Well, it doesn't always work that way, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. We're ready to go. Finally,
Can I get more names? So I picked up Danny, Claude, blank and Faye. Can I pick up names just so when I address you, I can address you correctly?
I'll weed it out. I'm Faye.
Faye, yes,
Peter,
Peter,
David,
David. Thank you. I'm Jessica, just a reminder. Okay, so, we mentioned before walking the site. And so I know it's not your standard daily walk, but I will be in town next week on the 21st for the DRB meeting at 4. And the arborist is also available. Is there availability on the 21st to be able to walk the site with both of us? So starting with that request anytime.
What day of the week is that? What,
That's next week on Thursday.
on Thursday?
Yeah, I won't be available then.
We would also have to clear a third person because it would require a public.
I may or may
hearing
not.
notice to be discussing item.
To walk the site.
Yeah, since like the sense of urgency would need to be discussed. But as long as that notice is sent out a week in advance, that's the only requirement we need to meet. So if it, we can discuss it with her this afternoon, possibly do the 21st.
Is it something that you consider to avoid an additional trip to Somerville since we came last week and we're here today and I know that we'll be here next week? Is that a possibility or no? And the owner will also be in town that day, flying in from Miami. And so there'll be people who have completed an decisions more than just myself.
Mm.
So I understand, but that he will not be.
Yeah,
present.
I've got something going on. There's no way I can change it. You know, the first part of the week, I could do something Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday would be difficult for me.
Does it need to be a full forum or can it be a few members of the board walking the sites? I know previously it was.
We don't make decisions on site anyhow,
Right.
in principle, so there would still be a quorum if all four of us were there. Three of us is a quorum,
With this being acceptable.
right, right.
Is that a possibility of meeting on next Thursday sometime prior to 4? So if you feel you need 2 hours, at 1, if you feel more morning,
What-
whatever it may be, I'll just figure out a place to hang in Somerville, from whenever it is until 4 o'clock. Is that a possibility?
4 o'clock in the afternoon?
4 o'clock is the DRB meeting, so sometime before 4, so that I can be here for the 4 o'clock DRB meeting.
I would say if we're gonna do it on the 21st, I wish you could be here.
I do too, but you know, if it's something that needs to be done, you know, sooner.
Well, no, I don't,
Well,
I know it would be great for them if we
closed
can
on
do it on the
Monday if I can
21st.
be here. I'm on
I value
standby
your-
for a cruise,
your
and I may
thoughts,
be on
so-
a 5-day cruise. I won't know till Monday afternoon.
And-
I don't have a problem with it. Is there something administratively that would have to be done,
We would have to do a public hearing notice. That's just a matter of-
but after the fact?
Sorry.
After the fact, because if we can't make a vote and decision,
If you're discussing an item, then we have to send the public hearing notice.
Right.
So it's just a matter of that if we for time, by this Thursday.
okay, but that's just like our site visits, right?
Yeah, I suppose it would be, but it would be a special meeting, so it's not a regular schedule.
And it'd be a special meeting on site.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't get that part, I guess. Okay.
And Mike Russell can't address the issues.
Well, you had mentioned that you'd like to have engineers.
Well,
as well.
No, I didn't say an engineer, someone who can address the issues of, is it possible to move this building or not, or, and Mike Russell cannot address those.
No, so he cannot, and so if it needs to be another date, it can be another day, I just figured that.
Yeah, no, I,
Mike is available, I know I'm gonna be in town, the owner will actually be as well. And so that it could be a potential convenient time, but if it's not convenient for you all, then we can pick, obviously Christmas week is not convenient for everyone, so that's out because. I mean.
Yep.
Always give up their Christmas week to talk about things, respect, they're gonna spend time with their family, I hope, so.
Unless it's their Christmas tree.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, wonderful.
So, pardon me?
So what's another possible date that
So
you have?
next week, the week of, let's
Okay,
see, week
Big
of the
ceilings.
End of the week of, so January 3rd is January, the week of January 8th. I think almost anything is viable that week.
It might be best to get past Christmas and all the things that are going on.
And I need to check with, Mike Russell, that I would assume he'll be hopefully available.
So,
The only day I'm not available is Friday, I do the medical visit, but I'm available the 8th to the 11th.
same here. I can make any of those.
yeah, that should work for me.
What's that now?
The 8th or 11th.
Jen?
January.
8th through the 10th for me. But yeah, 8th through the 10th, like would work.
Oh, it's Thursday, you're going on a boat run. Okay. You don't go out, you just work.
Yeah,
On the site. Okay.
yeah, work.
I think that Monday might be a tough go for me, but you know, the 9th, 10th or the 11th.
So, well, for chatting about being at the site, I'm gonna text Mike now and just ask if he's available on the night.
Okay.
And then I'm sure he'll probably respond while we're talking about the site. Okay. Okay, so this was,
You know what, the 10th, isn't that our next board meeting?
Maybe our next tree visit. Maybe that's our next tree visit date.
on the 10th.
Yes, Wednesday, unless we change it.
The next meeting is
Oh, it's
January
8th, you're right,
The
you're right.
next,
The site meeting's on the 3rd, okay. Proceed.
January eighth is the next meeting, site visits are January third.
Okay.
That's right. So that's the first Wednesday. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so. This is the latest and greatest site plan, and so with this site plan, you have the 5 4-story buildings, 3 3-story buildings, and 3 2-story carriage houses. It still has the area to the rear that you see from house going over that big save with the nature trail. The nature trail would meander, so it wouldn't necessarily be exactly where it as shown. It would meander as needed to save it. It would just be a mulch trail, so it's not going to be concrete trail, and there would be a gazebo. And so, with this site, the trees within the bridge strip are not being touched other than the one crossing to get across, and that bridge isn't going to be a bridge with any kind of piers and drainage. It's going to be kind of one of those drop in place, stand from top of thing to top of thing. And then some in the green zone only due to closeness to the site. So let me show you what we had shown on our plan, which we did not see. Again, DRB. So I mentioned the impervious calculation, so this is, hopefully it loads in just a minute. And how much site is remaining green. Taking a moment to load. You can see a portion of it, but just over 50% of the site is slated to remain green currently, and I apologize if it's not loading the size of the drawing.
50, 50.
50, correct. It's slated to remain green, but it's going to be graded, so it wasn't slated to have the trees not removed because obviously you're trying to make grade.
Oh, sure.
And yes, 50%
So
of the site was slated to remain green. Let me bring up.
and what happens on those new green areas? What's on there? But-
Again, in case you're not able to load, they were sent.
They don't have that drawing that I showed. Okay, so here it is again, and so, and that, the detention pond is figured in that impervious area, just so you're aware, this is going to be a wet detention pond. And so, yes, it's impervious by definition, but it is amenity with itself quality wise, and so this is the site layout, again, reserving the trees in this area, removing the trees within the detention pond and where the buildings fall, and so on this site, there.
This is the one we saw on the hood of the car.
Yes, and it was emailed to you guys the day after.
I never got it.
I don't think I did either.
None of us got it. You weren't aware of that?
So this is what was sent to the DRB, and that's why I've been able to bring it up. I have it available.
This is crazy.
The blue exits are 8 inches, between 8 inches and 16-inch tree removal, and the red X's are over 16-inch tree removal. So you can, I'll zoom in a little bit more than I'll camera on this page. And so. I don't think the computer has a lot of memory, I apologize. Okay, so again, easily this building could flip and be closer to this building here, and we could shift back. Or a lot of these blue trees can stay mostly here and not remove them due to grade, but yes, if the DRB was agreeable, this building could flip to where the dog park is, the dog park can move back over here. The trees at the intersection could remain, within the park, except as needed to be able to put in a playground that because dogs have eat trees removed. Place to run, and so I think that's something that you guys can, DRB or save trees, that would be amazing, because again, that was originally our thought, was to keep this whole corner open as possible.
And,
And there were trees in there that I wanted to save too, I think.
oh yeah,
Got that water?
So,
but they were green.
Yeah.
And
that-
some of them, yeah, but that was the highest grade of tree.
yes, so let me, which I think will help as well.
If that moved over, that would be good.
Yeah, I'm wondering why DRB chose for you to flip it around.
Well, we told them when they met with us that the reason why they had it there was to try to save trees on the corner, because they were larger trees that were well assessed.
Yes, they were.
That. Again, I think we're feeling the same. You know, off the part, getting one from one direction, one from the other. So-
Well, you have to remember, Chris had
See three
recused.
streets here at this corner, and so obviously, see if you were to shift the building, we would be able to save these trees here. But, and these because of the sidewalk, but these in this zone would likely more be saved. And so basically, the radius that you're seeing is the DBH into feet. So to kind of take into account the tree protection zone for each tree. So I think that given how close this sidewalk is, the sidewalk probably wouldn't be a major problem. So this tree, this tree, this tree, and this tree could be saved with it. And as I continue to go in, you'll see what the size and numbers of the trees they were related to. And obviously some of the 8-inch to 15-inch trees. I just didn't put the circles on that because the circles are based on my Brussels assessment of the site. Green being good, yellow being okay, orange and red both being poor at different grades of poor from opposite.
But this, and what size are those trees?
And so which trees?
Are
we
they
talking
grand
about?
trees?
So yes, there are. Good.
Because when you,
That's important.
And
We want
these
to
are
focus on
trees.
those more.
we're referring to tree 05, 308, 306, and 311. On your report, you can have that as well, 305.
boy. Hey, excuse me.
305, so 765. Then. Oh, look, I missed it. 305, 8, okay, so 305 is 7.5, 308 is 310 is 16.5 inch, and 311 is 16 inch, or 16.5 inch pine. And then you have obviously all of these other trees in that zone would be saved as well.
Okay, that's what I was getting to.
So they range, it looks like most of them are 8-inch to 12-inch pines, or 8-inch to 10-inch pines is the primary. There's some gums in there as well. But primarily they're cluster pines.
But they were well spaced out, which was made a pretty decent cluster of trees. It wasn't a dog hair thicket. It was, you know, there was reasonable spacing among all of them. I was surprised.
So if there could be some sort of coordination between the two groups and we put the building back and we kind of save this corner of trees, that would be a wonderful compromise. I just have to get the DRB to agree with that compromise.
Yeah.
And you'll bring that up with them at your meeting on Thursday?
The thing that you would like to say.
Would it help if we made a motion and voted on that issue? Would that put it more efficiently?
Not supposed to make any sort of strictly conceptual review, no decisions.
Can there be an email that just says these are the key items discussed?
We can discuss what's recommended. Yeah,
That-
absolutely. We just can't make any decisions.
Okay.
It's strictly just recommendations.
We could move that this be discussed. Would that have more weight, particularly this corner?
I don't think you would necessarily need to move for any recommendations or discussions we have, we can include in what's written. But I don't think you would need to make a motion to have that in the record.
Is there any disagreement on the board that we make that recommendation?
I'm sorry, what was that, Peter?
Is there any disagreement on the board that we make the recommendation that a compromise be sought for the corner of the property? As is discussed by Jessica?
No, or we can go to the meeting as well.
Yeah,
What is,
What you think about that going to the meeting, Remy?
What is 315? That would be in the area where it's going to move if you made it.
and find that on.
15,
You want to know the type of tree we're frequenting?
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, just a second, let me, there it is, I was waiting for that to go away.
It moves, it moves.
So 315 is a 17-inch pine and it's graded as D as 4. So I only brought up those that were graded better in that
Okay.
in the assessment. Honestly, I would still probably remove it, not necessarily root them, but take the tops down of anything that's 4 that's next to the clubhouse because of safety reasons. We would not want the tree to topple.
Well, I was asking because some of these that are yellow, it has an orange border. So that,
So this is orange here, and this is yellow here. And so this one's orange, and then let me zoom in to see which one you're talking for, it's a 315. It could be because it's overlapping another hatch that it's giving you a different impression. So where is, the 315 is.
You just had it.
That is orange. Orange and red are all considered 4. So
Yeah.
they're either in that D or F rating.
okay.
So anything that's orange is D, anything that's red is F. And I was trying to do that to make it more clear because it's hard, I found it hard going back and forth with so many trees.
Well,
Yes, so we,
yeah, yellow is pale. It's just hard to find sometimes.
Okay.
Claude, I know you mentioned being present at the DRB meeting. I think the most streamlined way to do this would be, if you guys want to outline any recommendations you want to make today. I can put those in writing. I can provide them to Ms. Chapman and she can provide those to DRB. And then whenever you follow up on the next site visit and we review again, we can move forward with any other recommendations. But for the time being, I think it's best to outline any recommendations you have right now. I'll put those in writing. That'll be provided to Ms. Chapman and the DRB.
Okay.
and not go to the meeting?
You can if you'd like to, but I think that's probably the best way
Okay.
to effectively get those recommendations before the right people.
Well, I asked because the last time that Peter and I went to a DRB meeting and made a presentation, we were able to change the mind of some of the members. That's why I asked.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a problem for you guys to go to the meeting and make any comments that you may have about the project, but as far as any like official recommendations on the record, I think it'd just be good to have it all in writing. So
Right,
everybody
yeah.
is getting the same information.
Okay, well, you know what one of them is already, right?
In the northeast corner, maintaining the trees, the cluster up there.
Right, basically returning to the original site plan, I guess, is the simplest.
For the entire first middle, and so all of the big.
Oh, okay.
So this used to be open, but it would just be basically flipping the dog park and the building at the intersect of the northwest corner of Old Dairy Road Extension and North Main Street.
Where's the pool?
The pool is here.
So that would stay where it is.
That would
Okay.
stay where it is. We would just basically take this corner here and shift it so that it's 30 feet from this corner here for fire code.
Okay,
And so, you see this separation here, that's close to the 30 feet, and so it would be about that separation of the building. And it would, so it come to about
Okay,
here, and then
sure.
we would only remove the kind of trees that's needed for playground purposes, and then leave the remainder. So obviously situate the playground so that it's more in this zone versus in our grand tree area.
okay,
Another area that we can make some adjustments on is for this 24-inch PE, which is tree number. I can adjust sidewalks probably to make that more of a viable tree. Have to look at some grades and see if that's possible, but that's tree number 339.
Yeah.
tree number 339. So for tree number 339, you're looking at a 23.5 inch pecan tree with a good rating. That would be
Damn.
another thing that I think is, I would just need to sweep the sidewalk in a different way in order to avoid that, because I assume, again, you're just looking to have that 24-foot diameter on the tree, correct? 24-inch tree, 24-foot diameter. And so some concessions can be made to maintain that tree and try to adjust grades as appropriate to maintain the tree. We had planned on removing the trees in this area. There aren't that many. There are, when you turn on, there aren't that many trees here. We are trying to make this a large green open space to have kids be able to throw footballs and make it an area, because right now we're keeping as many trees as we can in the preserve, etc. And so I really feel like every neighborhood area needs a place for a kid to take the ball or throw a ball. And there really were green trees in that zone that were as well kept. We just had a few yellows and then the oranges on the side. And at some point I'm going to bring up and show you the current landscape plan as it sits for the site.
Before we go into that pecan tree, is there a chance that you could have gravel sidewalks rather than concrete? Then you wouldn't have to be concerned about it ever lifting.
Unfortunately, we couldn't do that because of ADA regs, and so all the sidewalks have to be ADA accessible. Yeah, front was not considered ADA accessible. You can't maintain the grade and smoothness that's required. That 2% slope, and so I could just adjust this side. So basically, I'll take this sidewalk and I'll change the radius. I'll come in this way, and then I'll loop, and then I'll probably come this way and come back down. I'll just change the configuration in order to maintain.
Okay.
This gravel just doesn't work for ADA.
What I like, I think, is you show that a lot of those trees that are obviously going to be removed, they're right in the middle of the building, but you have at least gone ahead and shown them. We don't even have to guess that there's an X across those.
It becomes very, very cluttered. So the purpose of this plan is just trying to allow you to see. I provided this to Mike Russell, again, because miscommunication or whatever it may be. So this plan was provided to Mike Russell.
But most of the trees circled here are, of course, obviously going to be gone, the grand trees.
Pretty much every tree within the site, other than the areas in red and green, and then over here are slated to be removed, except what we just discussed.
Right.
So we discussed shifting to keep the pecan tree in the sidewalk. All right, it's hit.
So all the trees in that fitness area, the walking trail are gonna remain.
Yes, so all the trees.
Where's that?
So
Where
for
is,
pedestrian safety, we would be removing orange and red trees in that area, because the thought is that people would be walking and enjoying it. Now, if we want us to keep some of them and reassess that, you decide they're in good condition, whereas Mike decided they were poor, that's fine as well. But right now, orange and red trees are slated to be removed for
Okay,
pedestrian safety.
okay, so more than likely, the ones that are gonna be removed down there are the ones that are safety issue. Then Mike thought they would did grade very well, okay?
And we probably, again, we probably couldn't stop any of the trees. We could probably just take the top off. We wouldn't grind some, we wouldn't be pulling them out the back, so we could be doing any of that, because we're not looking to disturb this area
Good.
significantly. We're just looking for safety.
both the green and the orangey,
Green and yellows.
I mean, no, the bands on the, and this is a different map, but there's a green zone and a reddish zone around the stream. It's not in this map, but what I'm getting at is there going to be disruption of the native vegetation?
So we're not planning that anybody would make the red or orange in that area because of the wetland.
Right.
reserve of it. A few in the green area are slated to be removed, but not as many, but in the red, none. Except for, as you see, the crossing, if any, the smaller ones in the crossing to be able to get across.
How about in the green area with respect to other native vegetation besides trees? Is there going to be landscaping in there, or are you just going to leave it alone? Before that, the pond, the drainage pond shows a bunch of trees in it. They're not going to be there.
No, and again, I don't, the X's are shown.
Right,
The
right.
X's are shown on the other drawing. so this is the current landscape plan as it sits now, and so. Again, there's not many planting showing in the red and green area, because we're trying to preserve as much as we can possible of the green area. And so. Obviously, no planting in the pond, it will be a wet pond, and you don't plant in pond anyway, because that's standard for maintenance purposes. So I haven't 100% figured out why that is, it's still not a person, why we've decided that trees and dry detention ponds are so bad, but this is a wet pond, so I get in a wet pond and it's bad. And so you can see, that there's, I'm gonna go down to zoomed in sheets so you can see it a little better.
We don't have many dry detention ponds in the low country.
Right, no, you don't have many dry detention ponds here, because your water table is so high that you tend to have more wet, which I prefer wet, so I probably would have gone wet regardless. Okay, so you can kind of get a sense that we're doing, significant landscaping around each of the buildings. And then this is the entry coming off, and so the entry coming off and the landscape, and again, if this were shifted, you would have more natural trees here with just supplementing as needed. With proposed trees, we have, the 60 coverage on the landscape island as required in the ordinance. We have landscaping throughout. I kept as many open medians rather than butt-to-butt parking, which is very popular. I tried to keep landscape zones between the parking so that it wasn't facing one another. In this case, I have a sidewalk running through, that's why landscaping. I'm just gonna slowly scroll through. The green represents the trees that were being saved that were larger in diameter on this plan. You can see we're looking at landscaping the whole perimeter of this larger island that I discussed before, but leaving the inside open for the ability to kick a soccer ball or throw a football. Very heavy landscaped island coming in off of North Maple Street rather than just having pavement back to back. Again, the green represents trees being the trees that were being saved and taken credit for in terms of landscape calculation.
In that nature trail, is there any opportunities to plant more trees back there? You know, I know we're taking some out that are dead and need to be removed, but could you plant some more back in there?
Could we decide that on the site visit and look at the density of what's there now?
Sure.
So it's gonna get so dense that you're going to, and again, I'm not a tree person, but the canopy kind of fills out other trees that are there anyway.
Yeah.
But it's certainly something that I'm happy to look at.
Okay.
While we're looking and walking the site. Because it's a significant number of trees, so everything that you see in green are trees that are being saved on the site. They vary from 8 inches and above, since that's all that was surveyed. And then let's see, I think then we have maybe yes, so then they just get into the types of trees that were being spec'd for the site based on the emblem. See, I think that, and then I can show you what the building, I mean, you guys are into buildings, I can show you the architectural renderings, obviously, doesn't depict all the trees that are being saved or all the trees that are being added, because that doesn't allow you to see the buildings, and the whole purpose of an architectural rendering is to be able to see what the building looks like from the street and other locations. I have other documents that you can look at if you're interested, but we're just hoping to come up with some sort of compromise. Let me go back to the overall of the site. So is there another area of the site? So we've already talked about the corner, we talked about the pond location. Another area that I may be able to save some trees is this zone here. Kind of in this pocket coming off of what will be ultimately a town road.
Okay, good.
They're not over, you know, they're between 86 there, but
That's just fine, if you can. Where is that road going? To the right of way?
so right now it terminates. I believe it's part of the overall master plan. And the only portion of the road that's part of the contract associated with my client is to bring the road to the site and then terminate it with a temporary rock cul-de-sac. Then eventually it will go under under the easement into other developments. And so, let's see, overall,
Jeez.
there's.
Right now, it'll be a road to nowhere.
Right, but you can drive under the power lines?
Yes. you can drive. So
Is
if
that-
you're looking at power lines,
Right.
SAT. So when you're looking at power lines, they have a SAT distance that you can drive under, you just have to make sure your road is below that
Oh,
SAT distance.
yes.
So that's what I think is typically the SAT distance.
Those are very small.
Yeah, so I doubt.
Yeah, they're big.
Let me show you, so this.
Wasn't it a gas line there also? Yes.
Our site, so this is all meant to be part of this Human White Site Master Plan. We don't show it on this at this moment, we didn't prepare it. But this is our site kind of in with respect to the whole larger thought process. And so we're sitting here and then eventually that road would tie to this here. And then I would guess that they'll probably start to do crossing throughout, but I haven't seen that full design to speak to that.
There isn't one yet
Okay,
officially.
here's Tim Richard.
I am.
Hi, Tim.
Hello.
I emailed you again today.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
There was another spot. If you go back to the drawing that you showed the road curving into the right of way. Right there. That corner where there's nothing happening. That's gonna stay that way too?
That's not, so we are not purchasing that. We are not, that's not part of our purchase or if it is, let me think about it. I'm sorry, give me just 1 second. A portion of it. I don't. I'm trying to remember if that's part of, I don't think that's part of our purchase per se, the whole thing. But I doubt that anything's going to probably easily be built on it if you figure setbacks, et cetera. So, cause it's not the 1.678 acres you're seeing, that 1.67 acres is that whole triangle here.
Really? God, it seemed bigger than that.
Well, it's not so narrow down here.
But anyhow, my only point is there's some really nice trees, and not just pine trees in that little section there that,
That's happening with this minimal beyond the big road.
who's
And
up?
I think that it's so small ultimately at that corner, I don't anticipate anything happening there. I can't imagine, I think you're kind of saying the same shape. I don't anticipate anything happening there because of the shape. If you look at the size of our building.
Also, with the overhead power
Mhm.
lines, the gas lines.
Yep.
That is not really going to be a viable development part in any way, shape, or form that I see. You know, nobody's gonna build a single family house there, nobody's gonna put the residual left over after there's gonna be less than a half acre,
Mhm.
less than a half acre. That's, maybe one of those drive-through coffee shops, which is not the intent for this area.
Right? And this is the same owner owns this too, right?
So.
A
yes,
voice in the back.
In terms of, so. Our sellers only, our buyers only buying a certain portion. He's only buying what's necessary to get the project done.
Okay.
because I believe the remainder of this tax map, I believe, is still owned by. This, pardon, a different group, yes. But I don't see, as an engineer, I don't see this as a viable site. If someone came and asked me to build on it, I would say, on what? I mean, it's really not much of a viable site.
No, and that's not part of your green calculation either.
It may have inadvertently been by the engineer that she met in the field on Thursday, so there is a chance that that is within it because of where it bounds, but I will double check when I get back.
Well, it's no biggie. I mean, 50% green space is, from what little I know, that's pretty
It was.
pretty special for a development like this, no?
Here, and then again, we have, our landscape islands aren't sitting as straight concrete, we have large landscape islands here, so we may be down at 40% if you were to carve out this whole portion, remembering that some of our impervious, like this is gonna end up falling out, this is gonna become right of way. And so this portion here, and he may be buying this portion, I need to confirm with him, and if he is buying the portion, he's not developing on it. But you have to remember, this part's becoming right of way. So ultimately, in our calculation, this portion won't be part of it because it will become right of way
Uh-huh.
dedicated over to the town of Somerville. But the lion's share of our green is sitting in this area
Sure.
that, from previous editions, I'm sure that you Tim can test this with parking and garages and other things. And I think I mentioned earlier that we've already dropped from 336 units to 318 units with the intent of trying to make it more community feel, saving as much green space as possible, et cetera. You want me to go back to the tree results? And so again, here we got our back on the tree results. Talking about shifting and saving here, changing sidewalk, saving here. Looking at during our site visit to see if you feel like there's any trees that can be planted to continue to enhance this section. Obviously, the areas that look to be possible for that are more in this zone. In terms of dense,
Right.
dense areas. And then the landscape plan fully landscapes this zone here. You can see that it's a sea of black, which means it's a sea of trees along that zone. Just gonna walk it. I hope no one minds me changing it, so I'm just using my hands. It does show the site overall. Again, these trees don't represent at all the landscape plan. It's just a typical architectural rendering of the site. That's a representation of the potential gazebo and the nature trail, which that's mulch, even though it's a lighter color, it's just to be able to see it. Again, don't use this as your concept for trees. It is an architectural rendering. If they tried to put all of our trees in, then you wouldn't see the buildings.
I'm sure.
And then I don't care as much about the building itself. Are there other areas of the site you'd like me to zoom in? You can see our detention area doesn't have any trees that are good standing either. Here's another tree, I think down here, that I can make some shifts. That's a branch tree in the sidewalk configuration because of the gapping that we have. Between the two buildings, and it looks like it's probably a 19 inch here, but it might be different once you zoom in and see the number, because obviously it's 202. It's tree survey from a surveyor versus this is what the number represents from Mike. It's a 3 combined speed dogs, 8.5.
Poor form though.
Pardon me?
Then it says in poor form.
No,
Was it 202?
it's 202.
Yeah, it's a poor form.
It's a dog.
Oh, 4.
Let's use some keeping that.
Okay. I apologize.
Would,
But
would,
you
would it
got-
be
you-
possible when we do the site visits to have a hard copy of this map? Just something we could, as long as we can make out details, but yes.
Would you like a full size or would you like a half size? Because full size is 30 by 42.
Well, to go to the field, we wouldn't need any more than 1 or 2 max,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Full size?
Just 1 or 2, yeah.
You've got room to rearrange or shift that sidewalk there if you do end up changing.
I do. I just need to double check why.
This one was that sweet gum with 3 ports, wasn't it?
I think so. She was to go
That'd
back to it, but
Be
Yeah,
better
but
suited
that's not the
to
same
something
tree.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Let's go around to each of them, trying to make sure I did this, any that were off. I think it's a 402. I think I wrote the number wrong. I think I said 402. I think it's 402. Here, let me look back. I think I just typed the number wrong very quickly. No, it's not the best computer. I could agree with that. I think not a lot of memory.
No.
I apologize, I think it was probably 402, which
Yeah.
is a mistype, and so that makes more sense. The numbering was wrong, but the color was right.
Yeah, sweet gum.
There's my sweet gum, that's good. I apologize, I just typed the number wrong, but I have the diameter correct. So I could adjust to say that 20-inch sweet gum as well.
You know, it seems like you know where all these trees are by name.
It's in good shape too. That's good.
So I'm impressed with that. There's a lot of stuff here.
No, what is the 4? It's just the lines cut it off.
Right,
It's
yeah.
A whole lot easier, but that's the 4, I think. It's
Okay.
the sidewalks cut it off. So yay, that's it. Other areas of the site that you'd like to do next?
Is that a green area all around where that sidewalk is?
Here?
Yes.
Yes.
Open space.
So the only thing that will end up being here that's not depicted on this is our fire pit, water pit. But that's not depicted on the site plan, it's in the building plan. So we'll have a pit around this location and potentially around this location, if you find that the pressure is too low, a pump house would boost pressure, but it's not gonna have other things.
And you could redesign that sidewalk.
I can redesign
Yeah.
that sidewalk to save for us, yes.
So you mentioned about the obviously problem with grading jeopardizes, excuse me, a lot of trees in the process, no matter whether they're gonna be saved or not.
But has enough space around it, I can always get down, I can always put a grate near it, or just let the tree naturally absorb the water.
Is this likely to be in a situation like right here?
And so if the close point that I said like not, but given the distance between the buildings, I think that we could adjust, keep grade and save that tree.
Well, okay,
If we're sitting this close, I would.
understandable, yeah, sure.
Like, stand here, and then you can come in and on the. Okay, for me, are you still? Okay, so I'll just wait for everyone to give me eye contact.
What is that open space where it says parcel A2? What is that for?
That is, so that's going to remain open. If you notice, there aren't great trees in there, so it's going to be landscaped fully around the edge. And then it's gonna be just grass in the middle so that kids can throw a football or a soccer ball. So if we jump back to like when you see the landscape plan, it shows. You have to go slow because it doesn't like the landscape plan. Having trees around the perimeter and then this area where it says tree coverage is all model trees, so you can see it out. Here, you see the trees around it, and then trees in all the landscape islands with green space in the middle. But there's no really good trees in there. I mean, the yellow or mediocre, but there aren't really good trees safe in that zone. And not huge diameter that are probably worth losing the trees that we'd be putting around it.
Oh, the 4-story, did you say?
So the pink are 4-story, the orange are 3-story, and the purple are 2-story. So these are 48 units at the pink, the orange are 24 units, and the purple are 2 units each with 6 garages below. We slowly can up a little bit and bring it slowly. everyone ready for me to look a little bit more?
What's the blue on the top of the screen?
That's the clubhouse. So this is the clubhouse and this is, bathrooms, a meeting area. And so in the clubhouse, obviously, has the mailboxes. I think it has a yoga studio, I think a sauna, myriad of things, but that is the clubhouse and then
The pool.
the pool.
Okay.
Why do you think DRB wanted to move
The building.
the building, the
because
whole
they-
swapping at the corner thing? I realize,
open to private way and drive.
okay. But you've presented a nice alternative to save those trees by flipping the building there with the,
That's correct. That was originally discussed here, that we put the building over at this location to save the trees. But again, if you guys can come to a consensus, I'm happy to flip it back, because we liked having the trees at the corner.
so do we.
And then just making this the dog park with the playground having a really nice accessible area to the patio, so that, you know, okay, I'm hot, I'm gonna run in the pool, okay, I'm hot, you know, running back and forth between the two, it's a great location. And then leaving it as natural as possible, with little grading as possible. But we can certainly bring that up again at the DRB next Thursday. I have something from you guys that I can read specifically, if that will help. That just states that your desire would be for the building and the dog park to be.
It'd save a whole lot more good trees to do that,
It does.
plain and simple.
That would create a buffer in itself. Pardon? Pardon?
Do we have, I mean, that can be included in the minutes or?
Recording though of this, meeting. Yeah, there will be a recording available on YouTube and then, minutes will be included in the packet for the next meeting agenda, which should be, January.
But not in time for the year.
The minutes, won't be officially out in time for the year, but the online video will be available. I'll also provide any recommendations. So, you want to start with that?
But I mean, again, it could just be as simple as, you know.
Yeah, I can just,
Separate.
I don't have to take it. I just wanna, real quick, before we continue, I just wanna confirm some of these recommendations as recommendations. So we've got a recommendation to switch the building in the dog park in the northeast corner along the corner of North Maple and Old Dairy Extension. That
Yes,
is something
that's,
you guys would-
yes,
A recommendation, yes, the pecan along the walkway of the center building, you guys wanna make that recommendation to alter the
to
walkway?
alter the pathway of the,
Yes.
yes,
There is also a mention of the trees in the northeast corner of that parking area.
Here?
Yep, in that area, did you want to recommend maintaining those trees?
yes.
Okay.
Unless there's plans that
Yeah.
you don't know of.
And then the last one I had here as a potential recommendation was, adjusting the walkway down in the southwest corner to save the sweet gum tree. number
Right.
4.
402, yes.
And then the other item I had is a recommendation to install additional trees as available in the nature preserve area based on our sidewalk. Based on the notes that I have. Probably, for safety reasons, we'll have some underbrush removed, if you want it to be an area that you're not worried that your child's gonna get bit by a snake or something else. But I mean, still leaving it again is not.
And not just,
Am I missing anything else that you guys have had in mind regarding our-
I think you got it.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm covering all those bases.
Benny? Anything more?
Specifically, no, that covers them all. I mean,
Okay.
generally speaking, we'll want to preserve as many trees along that nature walk and anywhere as possible. And just by the way, when I mentioned to your engineer last week about sharpening pencils, that's exactly what you're doing is what I was requesting.
I guess he just perceived it wrong. He's like, "Site's bad." I'm like, "No." So I apologize for that. This, but again, I think that there's somewhat of a loss not being familiar working with you all, coming from the outside, and I would do the same for people coming Greenville from the outside that we have. But I enjoy the drive. The last thing happens to my daughter at USC on the way back and have lunch with her before her next final, so.
Right. I
Get
just-
confirmation on the date that we can meet in January.
I'm not available on the 11th. I just realized.
It said, the only dates that we had thrown out so far was the 9th and the 10th.
Right.
So let me see if I
Oh.
can my phone.
Okay.
I'll just try to-
That's a Thursday, and Friday.
But doesn't he have a team of?
He does.
drivers? So I think that he can make someone available with the time period that he says he'll probably have to.
Oh, the Wednesday is all right.
I would think that- Yeah, I think that they have enough time to probably adjust to be able.
I
to
would
work
think so.
it. So
Okay.
if we just want, to pick one of those dates, then that is fine with me. It's either the 9th
9th or the
or the
10th.
10th.
I'm good either
Yeah,
way.
I'm should be good either day.
Either day for me.
Me too.
It's okay. I can't see that far in advance. Motion's fine.
So why don't we say the 9th, and if for some reason we get rained out on the 9th, then we can just take it back after that.
That's good.
Sounds fine.
That's
Sounds
good.
And at what time would you like to meet with you?
You'll be coming from Greenville that morning?
I am.
We'll give you time to get there. I mean, 11 o'clock.
That's awesome. I left at 5:30 this morning, so I'll take all.
You can sleep in on it.
Little.
You know, it's any time, you know, you're gonna wake up early, so what time do you wake up? I woke up at 3:30 in the morning. You don't wanna sleep
I know.
around or something.
I
I
know.
don't know why that happens every time, but.
It
always
does.
happens.
Yes, it does.
We're all paranoid about missing a meeting.
I agree with you. Man. Yes, it is.
I guess it is.
Wake up. Hear that alarm, man. I wake up all the time for something big like that. I'm way ahead of
So
time.
by then, probably should be able to have DRB comments as well, hopefully kind of morph those together. So I will, we'll have a revised site plan based on the conversations we just had. Based on, if DRB is okay with it, in terms of flipping the building, conserving trees, changing the 2 sidewalks, et cetera.
Sure, they would have
In time for our walk to run
trees
our
on the side.
copies.
Yeah.
Anything else? I can help you with?
No, that's been very informative, and it's exactly what I want.
Yeah, I'm impressed with how much you know about the site and the trees' names and all the rest of that, and where the place to go was. You might have spent a long time studying this, but I'm impressed with your handle on all of this.
Thank you. I'm glad that we're, I think that we'll come to some kind of agreement for a site that works with the DRB Tree Protection Board as well as the client. So, mine could ask if I could eject the thumb drive and give it to you, Danny, since you live right down the road from him, because it's a thumb drive that I just borrowed.
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
And I'll email all these recommendations to you as soon as I get back down.
Is there anything else that you'd like to see?
Not at this time.
No, we've
Very
seen
good.
so much. There's a lot of drawings for this job. I guess for all of them now, it's just become a science.
Things that we did not have previously.
Oh, no.
Yes, he said it has pictures, I think, of his lake house. From the previous lake house.
Which lake?
Hartwell.
Lake house, but yeah, Hartwell, in Anderson. Yep.
It's a pretty area.
Is there anything else anybody wishes to discuss with general pre-committee concerns?
If not, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did he say when he was coming by, or he just said he'd stop
When
by?
he said he just stopped by. So, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Yes, to USC now.